Welcome back to the Ball Hat. Hope your day is going well. Subscribe if you are new, leave a like on this video, and today I'm going to be discussing substats, right? I'm going to do my best to explain each and every substat to you. So, if you don't know what they do, or if you just maybe you know what they are but you're not sure how they work and stuff, I'll try to explain it for you. I will also be talking about which substats are the best for your cosmetics, so we'll do that. What unit do I want to pick out on example? I think we will pick out Escanor. I think I'll just take red Escanor, green Escanor, sorry, for example. So here are all the substats that we have. Let's first discuss pierce rate. Now there's no exact translation for what these substats are, but if I remember correctly, pierce rate is it's basically the opposite to resistance. It's where pierce rate is how much extra damage you do against a set amount of defense. So higher pierce rate is always going to be better because pierce rate is included within damage calculation. So of course, if you have a higher pierce rate, you are going to do more damage. And resistance is it's the same thing. It's reduces the amount of damage you take against a set amount of attack. So pierce rate and resistance, they do counter each other. Someone with really high resistance would take less damage compared to someone with really low resistance, and they pretty much counter each other. I think resistance is added in the damage calculation as well when it's it's pierce rate, crit chance, crit damage, attack stat, all that stuff, the attack value of the card, all of those calculations are done, and then it's going to be against the opponent's defense, their resistance, their crit resistance, their crit defense, all that stuff. So yeah, those two are they're adjacent to each other. Next up is regeneration rate. This is probably the most garbage substat, the most irrelevant substat. Regeneration rate is just how much HP you heal at the start and end of every turn. It's really irrelevant. Even the units with the highest amount of regeneration rate really don't see much. The only unit where you can actually see regeneration rate do something is red Escanor. If you guys don't realize, at the end of a turn, or at the start of a turn, you'll see red Escanor for the first 3 turns. He will heal back a lot of HP. It's around 20k plus, because he has super high regeneration rate. He buffs his HP related stats by 50% for 3 turns due to his unique. Other than red Escanor, you'll never find regeneration rate to be important to you in any capacity whatsoever. And yeah, so next is crit chance. This is it's pretty straightforward. Your chance to crit, obviously crit chance is the adjacent to it is crit resistance. Crit chance is added to the damage calculation, and then when they account for the enemy, crit chance is going to go up against their crit resistance, stuff like that. So we'll talk about crit resistance in a sec, but it's pretty straightforward, just your chance to crit. Next up is crit damage, of course, how much extra damage you do when you crit. Now I'm not exactly sure how the maths works for crit damage because I do suck at math, but it's pretty much going to be, I don't know, whatever you crit for, it will be 167.5%, whatever the crit damage multiplier is. I don't know what it is. Every unit has different crit damage numbers, but you guys get what I mean. When you crit, you'll do however much percent more than you would if you didn't crit. And crit damage is paired with crit defense. Units with incredibly high crit defense, like Escanor, he has the highest crit defense in the game. When you crit Escanor, it's almost like the crit does the same damage as a non-crit because his crit defense is just so high. So that's how they work. Of course, crit damage is taken into damage calculation, and then when the second part of the calculation takes place, crit defense is there to counter crit damage. So yeah, pretty straightforward. Crit resistance is simply depending on the value, that will reduce the enemy's crit chance. So crit resistance is, I think they minus the enemy's crit chance by your crit resistance or something like that. That's why with a unit like Gotha, if I show you Gotha for example, you'll find that it's incredibly difficult to crit Gotha. Where is he? Very difficult to crit Gotha because he has 66% crit resistance, and there's not that many units that have that much crit chance that they'll be able to crit Gotha. It can definitely happen. It's not impossible. Crit is RNG based, but yeah, it just counters crit chance depending on how much crit resistance you have. What do we have after? We have crit defense. Like I explained it, it's just how much damage less you take from crits. So if Escanor had 100% crit defense, then he pretty much would take the exact same damage from a crit as he would a normal attack. very underrated substat, but it's definitely not too important in the grand scheme of things, of course. So yeah, crit defense, whatever unit has high crit defense, they won't take too much damage from a crit. Next substat is going to be recovery rate. This one is people don't really know too much about this, but recovery rate, it's how much you heal when, like, it's basically how much you get healed for when you use a heal skill. So you know, when King heals you, you might see that some units heal more than others, you know, disregarding crit heals, because crit heals are a thing. If you crit heal, then I don't think you can track recovery rate, but just in general, the higher your recovery rate, the more you will heal back when you get healed. So it's pretty simple. I don't think no, recovery rate has nothing to do with any kind of damage calculation or whatever. Probably just has to do with the healing calculation. Some units just heal for a percentage of missing HP, like King. Some units heal based off their attack stat, like Elizabeth, like Lilia. So yeah, that's recovery rate. And last but not least, we do have lifesteal. Lifesteal is very, very, very important and the best HP related substat. Lifesteal is basically, you will heal back whatever percentage of the damage you deal. So you know, obviously, like I said, I suck at math, I'm not going to give you an example, but say Escanor does his ultimate, he will heal back 4% of his ultimate damage. That's why in PvP, having units with really high lifesteal is, you know, or just building teams that give units really high lifesteal is very good. That gives you sustainability and stuff. So yeah, lifesteal, very, very important. So let's talk about which ones are the best for your cosmetics, because you know, all of these are buffed by cosmetics. So in my honest opinion, I feel like in regards to outfits, or actually it's not even in my opinion, I think like in regards to your, you know, your outfits, the skins, the best one is by far resistance. It's just, you know, by far and away the best one, and it seems I do not have a UR piece that gives resistance. So yeah. Oh, look at that. I'll give Escanor that one. Since I don't have any other one that gives resistance, I'm not going to equip an SSR one that does lower my defense. So yeah, my Escanor does have 102% crit defense. So now if he ever gets crit, he will take the same amount of damage as he would from a normal attack, which is, you know, it's pretty good. So yeah, mainly focus on resistance if, you know, you have gear sets, not gear sets, if you have skins that have crit resistance. Not crit resistance, god damn it, I'm getting myself really confused, but you guys know resistance, right? Outfits, resistance, that's the main thing you want to focus on. If not, the rest don't really matter too much. I don't know if you guys heard that bird, but yeah. Weapons, now this is where it gets tricky, because you have what I would think 2 desirable substats and then 1 that doesn't really matter too much. The crit damage doesn't really matter too much because crits are, you know, RNG based. If you want to go for guaranteed more damage, you can go for pierce rate, to which let me just unequip that because that is an SSR piece. Usually you would want to go with pierce rate because it will increase the damage you do. Although you could go for crit chance to, you know, give yourself a better chance to crit, which would lead to more damage. Definitely if you can crit, it's going to do more damage than an extra, you know, small bit of pierce rate. You know, pierce rate units excluded like Demon Meliodas and Hauser, but you guys get what I mean. I think probably crit chance and pierce rate, they are the best ones. Try to get weapons that have pierce rate, like Rita has super high pierce rate, Dark Magic Axe has super high pierce rate. You see Escanor's pierce rate is buffed by 17%, so that is very good. I do have quite a few weapons that give him a ton of crit chance. The Blue Avalanche Battle Axe, make sure you buy this for Escanor. 5% crit chance is massive. That is incredibly huge. Like literally half of Escanor's crit chance comes from this one weapon. In terms of the buff, 9%, half of it comes from the Blue Avalanche. So, you know, make sure you buy that one, and the rest just have whatever pierce rate, crit chance. This one's really good. The Smite has crit damage, crit chance, whatever. But yeah, in regards to your weapons, pick the ones that give you really good pierce rate and really good crit chance. Crit damage, it's whatever. If it's on the weapon, then sure. If it's not, then, you know, who cares. And headpieces, I mean, headpieces, you only really want to care about lifesteal. I mean, anything else besides lifesteal is probably irrelevant. I mean, recovery rate, sure, it might be nice if you have a healer on the team, but, you know, a few percent isn't going to do too much for you. You can see Escanor has really low lifesteal, because if he had super high lifesteal then that would be broken. It's why Red Escanor heals for so much. Like one attack he heals back to full HP in the first 3 turns, because he gives himself 50% extra lifesteal, which is crazy. He you know, lifesteals back half of the damage he does. Crazy stuff. But yeah, headpieces go for lifesteal. The other two are pretty much irrelevant. Next best one is recovery rate. Regeneration rate is just the worst. Obviously like I do have skins with regeneration rate, but that's because they're UR. You know, I'm not saying to de-equip your UR headpieces for an SSR piece that has lifesteal. Of course, don't do that. Of course, that's foolish. Keep the UR ones, but if you have spare UR outfits, try to get the best ones, aka the ones with the best substats. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Really short video. I hope I explained it to you pretty well. I've never seen anyone discuss this like in detail, or like which ones are the best. So hopefully you guys found this useful in any way, shape or form. And yeah guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Leave a like if you found this informative or just enjoyed it or whatever. Subscribe to my channel if you are new, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.